The ruling military in Thailand has won support at the polls to change the country's constitution, according to preliminary results of Sunday's referendum. The move will give the military power to influence the civilian government. The upper house would be unelected. This means that 250 Senate members will be appointed, and they will in turn appoint judges to the Constitutional Court. It would also create a committee made up of military leaders. That council will have the authority to seize power from an elected government and pass it on to the armed forces. The referendum also asked if the upper and lower houses of parliament should join together to choose a prime minister. Previously, the prime minister was voted in by a simple majority. Let's get more on this with Tony Cheng, who is live now for us in Bangkok. Tony, there had been concerns that this new constitution would bring about entrenched military control. What has the reaction been from the politicians who opposed this new draft constitution?
Very muted, frankly, except that we've seen the leader of the Democrat Party, who's been quite outspoken about the fact that he didn't agree with it. He says he will now adhere to the results. We've seen Yingluck Shinawatra saying the same thing, basically. We've also seen leaders from the Red Shirt protest movement saying that they shouldn't feel they've been ignored, but basically this was a fight they were never going to win. And given the terms under which the referendum took place, particularly the crackdown on campaigning by the military, who basically arrested anybody who very publicly said that they didn't agree with the referendum, then it's hardly surprising. But I think the other thing we have to bear in mind is there was a very significant majority here. It looks like it's going to be over 61% who agreed with both of the two questions asked in the referendum. And that seems to suggest, I think, not exactly a legitimacy for the military government, but I think the fact that Thai people, looking at the instability they've had in recent years, want to get back as quickly as possible to a stage where they're going to have elections, even if those elections are going to produce a flawed government.
And what about the international reaction to how this has gone? Because, as you say, there has been some concern that perhaps, there wasn't much of an opposition voice allowed to campaign at all.
Well, indeed, and we saw pretty outspoken criticism both from the United States, the European Union and the United Nations about the fact that the Thai military junta had oppressed, frankly, any campaigning during the build-up to this referendum. We haven't seen very much reaction internationally to the referendum. But what we did see was the first comment from the Prime Minister yesterday evening acknowledging the result. He said that he was very unhappy about the intervention shown by Thailand's supposed friends. And I think to a certain extent we are seeing a breakdown of Thailand's traditional allies, particularly its relationship with the United States, which refused to condone the coup in 2014 and has had a fairly frosty relationship with the military junta ever since. And I think the fact that it was right at the top of General Prayut's comments yesterday when he acknowledged the result is a symptom of how sensitive the Thai government is, but also that they may feel this gives them enough strength to kind of push away in that diplomatic relationship.
Tony, briefly, what happens next? Will this lead to an election?
Again, we're under a military government, so it's very hard to say at this stage. They've promised elections, they haven't yet happened. But what should happen is this constitution will be put in place in the next 30 days. Then the law will be changed over the next 250 days. And then an election process will begin. And we are hoping the earliest that will take place is in 2017. But again, there are no guarantees. This is a military junta that's broken its word in the past. So who knows whether they'll actually commit to it.
OK, Tony, many thanks for that. Tony Cheng there for us live in Bangkok.